Hello, Chicago. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Another Victory Monday show. 2 in a row. Holy cow, maybe things are changing for the better here in the Windy City. The Bears absolutely throttle the Carolina Panthers. We will break that down. We will celebrate it. We will discuss the good. We will discuss the struggles. We'll see about what signs are coming down the road from Caleb. Boy, he's been looking awfully good lately, hasn't he? We are also going to talk some baseball on the show tonight. The MLB postseason is underway. There are some former Chicago players that are playing, but neither of our teams are playing. What is it going to take for the Cubs and the White Sox to become relevant again in the MLB postseason? We will discuss all that plus more coming up right now on Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle it on up, everybody. It's Victory Monday. Let's have some fun. And welcome on into the show, everybody. I am your host, Adam Karnick. You have found your way into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We get to have fun for a second week in a row on this show. The Bears, back-to-back wins, just the third time in the Matt Eberflus era that we get to celebrate an honest-to-goodness winning streak. And there were plenty of good things to talk about from the show yesterday. Loving the comments already. Caleb Williams just hit another one to DJ Moore. This one from 50 yards out. So much good to talk about and break down from that game yesterday. We will do that. I also want to set the stage tonight for some baseball offseason stuff in town. The Cubs and the White Sox both had their seasons come to an end shorter than we would have liked at the end of last month, beginning of October. So we will set the stage for their off seasons here a little bit. Lots to get through on the show. We will do a quick word from our sponsors, and then we will hit the ground running, breaking down that victory on the lakefront yesterday. Do not go anywhere. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into the show here on IE Sports Radio. Adam Karnick, Chi-Town Weekly here with you. This show, thank you, first of all, to all of our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. And of course, the platform by which all this is possible, IE Sports Radio. Thank you for the support and dedication there. This show is available for you as well on all of the social media platforms. You can follow along on Twitter. We are at IESRC, or you can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick. And thank you to everybody tuning in and watching live, whether it's YouTube or Twitter or Facebook here tonight on the show. Want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat room. Go ahead, feel free, drop a line in there. Good evening to Taryn and to Arizona Sports and West True Blood hopping in. Good evening to all of you. Glad that you guys are here. We get to have some fun tonight. The Bears absolutely took care of business yesterday against the Panthers, 36-10 in getting that win on the lakefront. I was nervous going into that game yesterday. I knew that the Bears were superior talent-wise, and they were certainly healthier than the Panthers were. I was worried on the sidelines, the coaching side of it. How would Eberflus and staff handle actually being not just favored to win the game, but significant favorites to win the game? The Bears were, depending on where you looked and who you talked to ahead of the game, they were anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 point favorites in that game, which in the NFL, that's a significant number. That is an absolutely significant point spread to try and cover. That's they're saying that we expect you to win this game. And I had my doubts on if the coaching staff would be mature enough to handle that and be able to make sure that the team put forth a solid effort. My fears were unfounded, and I am so glad for that. They came out a little bit of a rocky start, as basically every game has been this season, certainly on offense. Every game has gotten off to a little bit of a sluggish start there, but the Bears, after a 3 and out on offense, put together scoring drives on 4 of their next 5 drives, and Caleb looked absolutely in command of the offense the entire time. 20 of 29, 304 yards, a pair of terrific touchdown throws to DJ Moore, and also added 34 yards on 5 scrambles. So terrific production all around there by the young rookie. He just keeps continuing to get better and better every single week. Once again, for the 5th week in a row, finished with his best quarterback rating that he's had all season, this time up in the 120s. I don't know that we'll necessarily see that again next week, but we're hitting the point now with him where it's simply going to be a matter of degree if he's hitting if he's getting better by the numbers or not. He became the first Bears rookie quarterback in franchise history to have multiple 300-yard passing games with that effort yesterday. He's already halfway towards owning the Bears rookie single season record for passing yards and touchdowns, and we're 5 games in. Wes bringing it up that this is what happens when you have a quarterback who can run rather than a runner who can play quarterback. And I know Wes, you and I went back and forth on that quite a bit at the end of the Justin Fields era. I will simply say what we're seeing out of Caleb is just phenomenal. He is becoming what was advertised, as we are seeing now. His command of the offense is so impressive at this point. And we're seeing him work his way through progressions. Now, it's not just, is the first guy open? No. Then I'm either checking it down or I'm taking off and running. We are seeing number 1's not open. Where's number 2? Number 2's not open. Let's find number 3. We're also seeing him manipulate the defense. We're also seeing him manipulate the defense in such a way that we haven't that we're not used to seeing. That second touchdown to DJ Moore yesterday, he knew he had DJ Moore in single coverage, and he knew that's where he ultimately wanted to go with the ball. But he also knew that he had to get a safety out of the way. So he instead starts on the opposite side of the field, uses his eyes to draw the safety away from DJ, then immediately comes back and hits him on a beautifully thrown ball. That was just, everything about that play was just gorgeous. The manipulating the defense, the the throw itself, the placement of the throw, and then DJ does a terrific job of maintaining his concentration to bring it in, get his feet down, and make sure that they get the score. Just an unbelievable throw, unbelievable play. We're seeing now, and let's give some props to Shane Waldron as well, listening to the players, to what they're wanting to do more of, what they're wanting to do less of, and working with them. The no huddle or the muddle huddle or the tempo or whatever you want to call it, that has been working so well the last couple of weeks when they've been incorporating that. Jonathan Vilma did an excellent job in the broadcast breaking that down. It puts the defense on their heels. They can only, there's only so many coverages you can really get into when you have to get there in a hurry and you don't have time to, for one, sub out players, and for two, get your communication across the board. You have to just, okay, guys, we're going to play cover two. All right, we're playing cover one. We're playing press man. There you go. Just pick one of those three. And so Caleb is then able to read it and know what's coming and make whatever adjustments he feels need to be made there at the line of scrimmage. And the communication that we're seeing on the field is so much better. Obviously, everybody's gonna react to, as we should, the great exchange between Caleb and Coleman Shelton, where Caleb points out, hey, is making calls and adjustments, and Coleman points out, dude, there's a blitz coming here. There's a blitz coming. If you haven't seen the video, find it. I am giving you the edited version. And Caleb immediately comes back with, hey, I know. We're gonna take care of that. So the communication there between the players is obviously improving. And you now have the Bears above 500. This is the latest they have been above 500 during the 3 years of the Eberflus tenure. As crazy as that is, that 5 weeks is so deep into the season, it's not. But the Bears are above 500, and we're 5 weeks into the season. This is feeling real. It is playing real. It is absolutely, we are seeing positive results. And that's wound up with now 8 straight victories at Soldier Field. I've gushed all about the offense to this point. The defense deserves credit too, obviously. Andy Dalton looked so pedestrian in that first half yesterday. He was completing passes, but nothing was down the field. Everything was checkdowns. Everything was short. I think he was at one point, he was 6 of 7 for 8 yards in the game yesterday. The one run, of course, they want to have that 38-yard run by Chuba Hubbard back. But other than that, that was as excellent of a game defensively as you could hope to have. 3 takeaways, only 10 points allowed. Yes, it's an inferior opponent. Yes, it's at home, but these are still huge building blocks for your team. They now have they have the longest active winning streak at home in the NFL. This is their longest active winning streak since almost 20 years ago. 2005 to between 2005 and 2006, they won 10 straight at Soldier Field. The last time they lost at Soldier Field was fully a calendar year ago. This winning streak started the middle of October last year with the first Tyson Bagent game against the Raiders. It is going to last now more than a full calendar month because they don't play at Soldier Field again now for a month. It's going to be the middle of November before they play a true, honest to goodness home game again. And that leads us into next week. They're against the Jaguars, but it's in London. First of all, I love that they are already on a plane bound for London right now. I love. I heard Eberflus talk about that a little bit, both during the week last week and then in his post-game presser yesterday and again today, pointing out that we want to get over there now, get our body clocks right, get everybody so that they can be going to bed when they regularly go to bed. They can be as much in their routine as they normally would. You know, that's what you want to see from these guys. So I love that they're already bound for a plane headed for London because the international thing, the 6-hour time change, that is no joke. That is absolutely a thing on your body, and it takes time to flip and adjust to that. So I love that they're going over there now, get accustomed to that. The flip side of having such a long winning streak at home, they're not winning games away from Soldier Field. They've won a grand total of 3 road games during the Matt Eberflus era. And they've all been in prime time. They had the Monday nighter in New England back in 22. You had the Thursday nighter in Washington last year that frankly may have saved Matt Eberflus's job. And then you had the Monday nighter in Minnesota the Monday after Thanksgiving last year. And that's been it. That was the touchdown free game, the 12-10 win over the Vikings last year, right after Thanksgiving. That's been it for the road victories, for the victories away from Soldier Field. That's the next step in the evolution here. You look at Caleb, his home and road splits are obviously very different. He's been entirely different on the road as opposed to at home. All of his interceptions, all of his turnovers to this point have come on the road, whereas he has thrown 5 touchdowns and 0, or excuse me, of course, I don't have the number in front of me, but he has 0 turnovers at home, as opposed to he's had back-to-back weeks with touchdown, 3 touchdowns at home against no interceptions or giveaways at home, against just 2 touchdowns, and all 4 of his interceptions have come on the road. But the team itself, you've got, that's the next step now, is you've got to be able to win not at Soldier Field, because you've got a long stretch here coming up with this one right now, coming up with this game against Jacksonville, where you're not at home. You've got Jacksonville bye week, Washington, and then Arizona all on the road before you next play at home against New England. This Jacksonville defense struggles against the pass. They can be had against the pass. And now that Caleb seems to be in a rhythm and a groove and has better command of this offense, we'll see, can they keep that going against this Jacksonville secondary, against this Jacksonville defense? Trevor Lawrence warmed up yesterday. They are catching the Jaguars at maybe not as great of a time as we thought we'd be getting them a couple weeks ago. Jacksonville's coming off of its first victory, and Trevor Lawrence played easily his best game of the season last week. They are also accustomed to making this international trip because, of course, the Jaguars, they do this every year. They go to London every year, hang out for a couple weeks, play a couple games, and then come home. So they're at a disadvantage there in that regard. This is going to be another, even though the Jaguars are just 1-4, this is going to be another good litmus test for this team. All right, you've built up some momentum. You've won a couple games in a row, which that's been hard to do for this franchise under this regime. You've had a hard time stacking victories. You've put a couple together. You have a chance now this coming Sunday to do what you have yet to do with this regime, and that's win 3 in a row. But you're away from home. You're in a neutral site in a foreign country, and your opponent is used to making this trip. And your opponent's coming in feeling a little bit better about themselves, having finally gotten off the schneid, getting the pressure off of them a little bit of when are we going to get our first win? Well, you got that first win. Now what can you do? I did see, it looks like Jaquan Brisker has not traveled with the team today. That hit that knocked out the Panthers tight end and forced a fumble, that may have also given Brisker a bit of a concussion. He's self-reported today and he's being evaluated. He might still be able to make the trip. I wouldn't be surprised though if we don't see him on Sunday. So that could be a major blow, missing Brisker. Obviously, then Jonathan Owens would have to step up. You'd have to see some other guys from the secondary step up and make some things there. Good evening, Trevor. How are you, sir? I know you're feeling good as well with the Texans, despite their interesting choice of uniforms yesterday. They came away with the win. So now you've got to take the next step for this team. That's winning away from home. That's the next step in the evolution of this team, of this franchise, continuing to stack these wins and being able to do it away from Soldier Field, because they're going to be away from Soldier Field for the foreseeable future now. One last thought on this, and then we will take a quick break and we will transition over to talk some baseball. I know a lot of people have been trying to throw cold water on this win because it was Carolina, because it was the Panthers. And I will admit, the Panthers are not a great football team by any means. Their roster is bad. They are banged up, and that defense is torn to shreds. Every significant player they have defensively is hurt. The young man they took at quarterback last year has not panned out at all, etc. What we saw yesterday was more than just playing a bad opponent, though. We saw a command of the offense. We saw growth in so many ways. Here's just one stat that I want to point out that really emphasizes it. Caleb Williams, we've talked about how when you're facing a rookie quarterback, you blitz him, you pressure him. When you're facing a veteran quarterback, you drop into coverage and you try to get there with just your front four. Caleb has struggled against the blitz here in the early going, but he's starting to get a hang of it. We saw it a week ago against the Rams. He threw a touchdown against the blitz. His completion percentage was way up against the blitz. Yesterday, against the blitz, first of all, the Panthers blitzed on 31% of Williams' dropbacks. Here were Caleb's numbers against the blitz yesterday. 8 of 10 128 yards, and a touchdown. That is growth. That is massive improvement. That transcends beyond simply you're playing a bad team. You saw huge growth from Caleb in that, and it is incredibly exciting. And I think we're going to continue to see more of it from this young man. We are going to take ourselves a quick break. And then when we come back, we are going to try to fix baseball in this town, both on the south side and the north side. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph DeLeese, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph DeLeese, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick back with you here. Broke down a lot of Bears discussion on the front end of the show. And of course, we will be breaking down every single game, every single week right here on the show. But the MLB playoffs are going on throughout in the MLB land, in the baseball landscape right now. There are some notable former Chicago baseball players. Carlos Rodon is with the Yankees. Anthony Rizzo is with the Yankees. Kyle Schwarber with the Phillies. He had himself another postseason home run last night. His postseason legend just continues to grow and grow and grow. Nick Castellanos had a big one for the Phillies. We're seeing Michael Kopech for the Dodgers, but we're not seeing the White Sox or the Cubs themselves, unfortunately. Their seasons both came to an end at the end of the regular season. For the second year in a row, we don't have any postseason baseball. I wanted to go back and just kind of review the seasons as they were for both teams and try to offer up some ways that we can fix these guys so that 2025 won't be so bad. Now, for the White Sox, we know what the record was. That was abysmal. That was horrible. 41 and 121, the most losses by a team in a single MLB season all time, though they did manage to win 5 out of their final 6 and avoid some history. They did at least avoid the worst winning percentage of all time. That still belongs to the Cleveland Spiders of the 1890s. So they at least avoided that. So, as we've talked so many times on the show, there's nothing good to talk about from this team. Just everything about it was bad. It was bad from the word jump. From the moment Chris Getz got handed the keys to the kingdom because he happened to be Jerry's latest best friend to take over, all the way through the season, just all downs, very, very, very few ups for this team. Chris Getz, he's had now basically a year on the job. This is going to be a massive, massive, massive offseason for him. He struggled, to put it very nicely. He struggled as a general manager last year. You had waiting too long to make trades, completely failing to make some trades. Garrett Crochet is still on the team for whatever reason. Not getting solid return for trades. Michael Kopech jumps to mind. The first one coming up for this offseason for Getz, who's going to be the next manager? They put Pedro out of his misery in August after their second of two historically long losing streaks. They finally put Pedro out of his misery. But now, what do? You've got an interim manager in the meantime. They're going to interview him. Do they pull interim off of the title and just let him hold on to the job? They've come out with a list of qualifications. They want somebody that has been in the game last year, though then Buck Showalter's name has been popping up and creeping up. This team has lost, this franchise has lost basically all credibility that it has with its fans, with the media, with baseball in general. This hire is your first opportunity to try and right the ship, to try and earn some of that goodwill back from. You start with the fans or start with the media, whomever. But this managerial hire is a huge one. They've already said that they're probably not going to spend money in free agency. So this roster isn't going to be a whole heck of a lot better than it was. And while it's difficult to predict that they'll have back-to-back historic losing seasons, this is still a franchise that has lost 222 games in the last 2 years. And I don't see them suddenly winning 65, 70 games next year with this roster. So this managerial hire, this is so huge because you're going to be trying to get some credibility and some goodwill back with everybody with this hire. Chris Getz needs to get this hire right. And Jerry, to his credit, Jerry has said he is going to stay out of the way. It is Chris's hire to make. He's not going to, you're not going to see a Tony La Russa sweep in out of nowhere and get handed the job like we saw a few years ago. That's not going to happen this go around. That's what Jerry has said, that it's going to be Chris's hire. Chris, don't feel like you're in a hurry to make this. Talk to lots of people. Talk to people who may not ultimately, talk to people even if you don't necessarily think that either they'll take the job or you'll necessarily want them to take the job. Talk to them anyway. Get lots of opinions. You need to figure out how to fix this thing. You don't need to necessarily fall in love with the first guy you talk to about this job. Take your time, make sure that you get this hire right. As for other offseason plans, they've already said that they're not planning on spending a lot of money, if any money. So there's not going to be a whole lot of going out and getting a bunch of free agents. We'll see if what the market bears for Garrett Crochet. He made it through the entire season. He made it through a whole season. Now, they had him on a strict pitch and innings limit towards the end there. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt their cause at all when they're trying to trade him. But we'll see what the market will bring for Garrett Crochet. Frankly, I wouldn't be upset if they were to decide that, you know what, we're just going to keep the kid. We like him. We're going to need pitching. He's young. Let's go ahead and hang on to him. I wouldn't be upset with that. But if you do deal him, make sure you get something for him. Make sure that you get better than you got for Kopech at all in that 3-team trade. Make sure that you get solid return on that move. And let's see if we can push the needle. I don't know if 100 losses can be avoided next season, but at least try to play an entertaining brand of baseball next year. All right, we're going to take one more quick break, do a little bit of a palate cleanser, and then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to be talking about the Chicago Cubs. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this. Hockey fans, I'm Adam Karnick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to stick around right after us as Taryn Rodriguez will be breaking down everything that has been happening in the world of volleyball, getting the stage set for that. So we made it through White Sox. Now we can do a little bit of a palate cleanser. We're going to talk some Cubs now to close out the show. Better than the White Sox, obviously, because, the White Sox were the worst team in the history of baseball this past year. But in some way, the Cubs were more frustrating and more disappointing in 2024. Finished with a winning record. For the second year in a row, the Cubs finished with a record of 83-79, tied for second place in the National League Central with the St. Louis Cardinals. But they missed out on the postseason again. First year under manager Craig Counsell. Craig was brought in. He was supposed to be the difference. He was supposed to be the thing that got the team over the hump and got them into the postseason. And instead, the team did exactly the same as they had the year prior. Did finish with a winning record after the All-Star break, for what that's worth. But it's still well short. And Counsell talked about this at the end of the season. He said 90 wins should be the minimum for this team every year. That's what the Cubs need to be shooting for every year. That between the market size, the cash on hand, and just the attitude and culture of the team, 90 wins should be the minimum threshold for this team every year. And I like hearing that. I like hearing the little bit of a jab at the front office that, hey, you guys need to do better. We need to do better. We need to do better than what we've been doing. I like hearing that from the manager. I like hearing that and seeing that from him. And I want the team to continue to improve. One of the first off-season questions is, will Cody Bellinger opt back into his deal? You remember last year that he signed what was essentially 3 one-year deals all in a row with each other. He signed a 3-year deal, but he had a player option after each year. Kind of a down year for Bellinger, so I would expect him to opt back in. The Cubs have shown a propensity the last few years. They like defense. They have put an emphasis on defense. Whether it's Nico Horner at second base, or Dansby Swanson at shortstop, or Ian Happ in left field, or benching Seiya Suzuki because his play in right field just wasn't up to snuff, making him basically the full-time designated hitter there at the end of the season. The Cubs have put a premium on defensive play. And it's been wonderful. Their defensive runs saved is always high. Their middle infield and center field especially are always terrific. The Cubs could have as many as 4 Gold Glovers get announced here in the next coming weeks when MLB makes their season announcements for that. But you have got to get more consistent offense. The trade for Isaac Paredes partway through the season, it kind of sort of worked. Paredes ultimately had a better time with the Cubs than Christopher Morel had with the Rays ultimately at the end of the year, but it still was not the spark you were hoping for your offense. I like Michael Busch. I think they have something there for him offensively. You have a lot of guys with the Cubs that can be great complementary offensive pieces, but you need to have that star offensive player that you can simply lean on. That, hey, you've got to have your ace, you've got to have your captain. You know, for the championship team, that was Rizzo and Bryant, where you knew that, hey, these guys are going to show us how to get going offensively. Yes, you had Dexter Fowler be the table setter, but it was still Rizzo was the guy on the team, and everybody knew it. They're missing that guy. And as much as I like Horner and Dansby Swanson and Pete Crow Armstrong and Ian Happ and all those guys, if you have to move one of them in order to get that, then so be it, because you've got to have that. You've got to have that consistent offensive presence in this lineup that will allow everybody else to kind of slot into their roles. You've also got to, it seems like they found a closer there with Porter Hodge at the end of the season. You could never have enough pitching. Shore up the bullpen, shore up the back of the rotation. I would imagine that Kyle Hendricks is probably not coming back next season. The professor, he had a nice finish to the season in his last start, but overall, that was a rough season for him overall. His contract is coming up. I would not be surprised at all if they decide to move on. It's certainly how it felt in that final start, that this was it. So I think they're moving on there. So you could use some more back of the rotation help. You've got, between Shota and Justin Steele, you've got two terrific starters at the top of the rotation. I like Javier Assad. You just got to figure out, what you've got there for the back of the rotation as well there for the Cubs. A lot that they're going to be doing this offseason. We'll see. Hopefully the Cubs can be more aggressive than they've been the last couple off seasons and really fix to improve this roster. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Big shout out and thank you, of course, to our sponsors once again, Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Find them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Place your orders at planetjerky.net. I would recommend the volcanic jalapeno. That's a personal favorite of mine, but everything they've got there is really good and top notch. Thank you also to Seal the Deal Wax Seals for being a sponsor here as well. You find them on Instagram at SealTheDeal_Wax Seals, or place your orders at iesportsradio.com. Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Thank you also to Larry B, the Zog overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. Follow along with the show on follow with the network on all the major social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Not able to catch the show live? Every major podcast platform has this show and every other show on the network, whether it's CastBox, Deezer, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Gio7, all of the above. They are all there and all there for you. Thank you also to everybody that hung out in the chat room with us tonight. Taryn Rodriguez, West True Blood, Trevor Howard, Kathy Karnick. Thank you to everybody. Finally, thank you for listening. Whether you're watching and listening live here on Monday night or you're catching the show later on in the week as a podcast, thank you for being here and making this part of your regular sports routine. Whether this is your first show or your 202nd, I am humbled by you being here week in and week out. Coming up next, it is Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point. taking us through everything happening in the wide world of volleyball. Next week, of course, we'll be breaking down Bears and Jaguars from Jacksonville, what the London experience has for the Bears. We will also be previewing the Bulls upcoming season. Until then, we'll see you next week.